Hey, good afternoon, Miami sports fans. It's Dave Eversole here, joined by Jakari Givens for your Tuesday Miami Sports Break. Going to catch you up on all the latest trending sports topics around the world of Miami sports and elsewhere around the NFL, college football. Give you a little bit of a recap on the latest news and notes from around the world of sports. Obviously, the big story in South Florida is Tua Tagovailoa taking over the starting job. He's got a whole week off to prepare for Aaron Donald and the Rams defense. So talk around the league is that the team is excited for Tua to step in, and we know after Fitzpatrick was kind of bummed out, things seem to have calmed down a little bit on that front. Jakari, give me your take on Tua and how he's preparing this week, and what are you seeing from the team so far?
Well, the biggest takeaway for me was just the reaction of all the players who were all in the post game conference. They all were excited. They were very like, "Hey, this guy's very. He likes to learn." They were enthused. Like I tell people all the time, the team has been at practice, so they knew who the better quarterback was. Not only was Tua the future, but they knew he was the better quarterback. They're practicing with the guy every day. They're seeing him make plays, and they're like, "Well, damn, if he can do that on Sunday, well, we got a chance." Chan Gailey comment stood out to me as well, because he felt like Tua was going to play exceptionally well, and they have a very favorable matchup against the Rams as well. Outside of Donald and Jalen Ramsey, the defense is kind of bad. Um, they make plays. The Bears last night was not a good game to scout, obviously because the Bears' offense is so bad. They they are at the bottom of the league. I don't even know how they're a 5-1 team, so that's not good. But as long as Miami game plans for Aaron Donald and don't let him disrupt the game, also and keep Jalen Ramsey at bay, they should be fine. Tua's gonna have a big game in my opinion, just because he's been waiting a whole year to play football. I think he has two things you can't teach at quarterback, and that's accuracy and anticipation. The only negative about him, from watching his college film, he holds on to the ball too long sometimes. And this Sunday we can't do that because if you do, Aaron Donald's gonna get wrecked the game. So it's just quick passing game for them on Sunday, and this should be a fairly easy game because he's like I always say, he's a Drew Brees. He's a accurate distributor of the football. So every guy, I expect Gesicki to have 5 catches, Williams to have 5 catches, Parker have 7 or 8. He just spreads the ball around. So I'm excited. Um, I don't want people to get down if he has a bad first quarter or something like that. Just let the game play out and then evaluate. Obviously, if he throws for like 400 yards and win, man, that's gonna make the whole city explode. So this is probably the most exciting time that we had since LeBron James, came to Miami as a free agent. Outside of winning championships with D Wade and D Wade winning his own championship in '06. I think for football wise, this is the most exciting. Like I've been excited as a fan, and the whole league's gonna be watching this game. Like all eyes are on Miami right now.
Yeah, too bad they don't really flex because of the pandemic and everything. I think
No,
we're
no,
stuck
no,
with
no.
a
They
they're
flex. They flex, but they don't flex the early games. They'll flex the late games. So Miami was playing at 4 o'clock. I think they would have flexed that game in the prime time.
yeah. But I'm excited to see what Chan Gailey has for Tua as far as getting him outside the pocket and trying to get him away from Darnold up the middle. Are we going to start seeing some zone reads and some RPO and some of that college type stuff to get the intermediary passing game
I
going?
I think we'll see the RPOs, the zone read. I don't think they're gonna run them as much because you don't want to hurt the franchise. But against the Rams, you do have to move the pocket because you can't sit back there and be a duck. So I expect RPOs, bootleg action. Just similar to what you've seen in the little two plays that he ran. First play was play action boot, got him outside the pocket. He can throw on the run very well, and then just quick passing game. It's just till he gets in the rhythm. So I know that you are excited as well. So what are some of the things you want to see him do? Like what's a successful performance in your eyes?
I think commanding the huddle, just getting out there, getting everybody where they need to be, being on schedule as far as down and distance goes, making the right reads. And I know you touched on it in some of our earlier shows, not always trying to hit the home run. Take what the defense gives him, move the chains. He takes care of the football. He's not turnover prone.
Yeah,
He's not
in 3 years he only threw 13 interceptions at Bama. So.
he makes good decisions. Like you said, when he gets in trouble is when he holds on the ball too long and tries to hit the home run. But I'm excited to take the top off of the other defense a little bit because of Ryan Fitzpatrick, we know that arm isn't exactly high caliber as far as getting the ball down the field. He's not going to be mistaken for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see some one-on-one with Jalen Ramsey on the outside. I think the Rams defense puts him in a position to where he's going to get some targets his direction. And if either Devontae Parker or Preston Williams can match up with him on the outside and make some plays, I think that's really going to change the course of the offense. But he's going to have a running game to help him out. The running game has got to be there as a little bit of a crutch, at least early in the game, I think, till he settles in. He's going to be pumped. The team's going to be fired up. So I just want to see him execute, really, and be sharp.
You just don't want them to be too fired up and, come out and lay an egg. But the Miami team is built to beat teams like the Rams, the 49ers, because they play a lot of man coverage. And as you've seen, when teams go man against that type of offense, it doesn't help them. Because the way Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, offense is very similar. They use a lot of motions and stuff like that. It helps you because it's no deception going on. Like, I'm in man coverage, so I know if he goes in motion, I got him. So it makes the run fits easier. It takes away some of those easy passing reads that those offenses give you when you go man. And then you seen it in the Super Bowl in the second half when when the Chiefs went man coverage, and then you also seen it in the previous Super Bowl when the Patriots went man coverage and Jared Goff couldn't complete a pass.
And there was a good thread by 3 yards per carry on Twitter the other day about Jalen Ramsey. He typically is on the left side of the defense at the left cornerback spot. He typically doesn't trail the wide receiver one who his matchup is, but they do some interesting things to try to get him. Yeah, they try to get him matched up. Sometimes other offenses on the slot to where he's got to move a little bit more quickly in space rather than just locking up one-on-one on the outside and being in that trail. So I'm curious to see how Miami sort of tries to play the chess match as far as where they're going to attack Ramsey and the rest of that defense. And I think the interior of the offensive line is going to do a decent job against Aaron Donald. I really do. I feel confident that they can at least hold their own. He's going to get his. I mean, he's an all-pro, one of the best defenders we have in the game. But I'm excited to see those matchups with the big guys in the middle versus Donald.
Yeah, with Ramsey, they playing him at the star position, so he's playing a little bit of everything. They broke down his percentage of snaps last night on NFL Countdown. I think they even had some where he was playing linebacker. But most of his snaps come out corner and slot corner. So they just did it to get him involved in the game because Ramsey is a very physical guy for his size. He's not as scared to come up in the run game. So that's why I'm moving him there. But you have one-on-one matchups. The only thing is Ramsey matches up well against those type of receivers, Devontae Parkers, Preston Williams, because they're bigger guys with not as much speed. You only seen Ramsey get hurt when guys are smaller and a lot faster and quicker than him. But he's a top 3 corner in the NFL. So it's not really, that big of a deal. Then they had the best player in the NFL, Aaron Donald. So really, the matchups come down to Flowers and Kenley versus Donald. Last night they did a little bit more movement with him. They ran a little bit more stunting with him just to get him free some. But we just have to see how the offensive line handles that, man. Because, like I said, the Dolphins have the advantage in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's no game film on Tua, so they can't prepare for him. 1. 2, they just played on Monday night, so they're coming off a short week, plus the long flight travel. Over to Miami. So Miami should win this game just because I don't see the Rams as that big of a threat. And that transitions me to the next thing. Do you see Miami being the best team in this division? I know the Jets are the Jets. We're not, I know the Jets are bad. You got the Patriots who are bad, but Bill Belichick's their coach. So are we gonna go ahead and like count them out? And then you got the Bills who haven't looked good the last 3 games. So where are you at with that? And who do you see? Do you see Miami? Talent wise, Miami is probably at the top of the division in my opinion, but outside of Buffalo, I think Buffalo is probably the most talented, but I think Miami's right there, just depending on how Tua plays. But where do you see Miami in this AFC East right now?
Well, the metrics are really positive for Miami, despite being just 3-3. They're the only team in the AFC East with a positive point differential. Everyone else has actually been outscored on the season. And I'm encouraging because they're really starting to find their identity. I think other than Buffalo, with everything going on in New England, there's a lot of teams in flux. And Miami seems to be a team that's starting to find itself. They're establishing a rhythm on offense. The defense is playing really, really well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we smacked around a bad Jets team last week, but I'm really encouraged
I
by
mean,
some of these free agents they brought in, like Agba.
Auburn's
And
been playing very well.
yeah, we had a good film breakdown on the Twitter feed about him. And no, I'm just excited that Miami is starting to really get noticed by the national media, which is good and bad because we all know how the national media sort of takes Miami with a grain of salt. So I'm encouraged by all this. I think the Rams are going to be a real test for this team because they do have some skill guys on offense and they can put up some points.
Yeah.
But I'm encouraged by where we sit in the AFC East because we're a younger team. We have a lot of draft picks in the next season as well to build upon this year.
Yeah.
And
Not to speaking, we're probably gonna end up with a top 5 because of Houston. So we're probably picking in the top 3. Actually, no, I say top 5 because I think Deshaun Watson ultimately wins 2, 3, or 4 games. So
yeah, are the Patriots done?
I right now they're just in flux. Number one, like people trying to say, "Oh, Belichick needs Brady," all this. No, they have no skill players on the outside that are getting open. It's the same reason why they lost last season against the Titans. The receivers couldn't get open.
Mm-hmm.
Brady was basically out there playing by himself. You know what I mean? So then you bring Cam Newton in there with the same exact roster, and people were like, "Oh, but I personally thought they would win the AFC East because I thought they would add more talent to the receiver room." You know what I mean? And the Patriots have not drafted well over the last few years. If you go look at their picks, passed up on they took N'Keal Harry, passed up on DK Metcalf. Obviously, you know, hindsight is 2020. Harry looked like a good prospect as well, so you can't count him out. But I just think the Patriots roster isn't there, and with all the opt-outs they had, they're just not as strong as they once was on defense. So I think a lot of people were not anticipating all the opt-outs. You know, they lost Dante Hightower, which was big for them on the defensive side. Obviously, one of their top defenders, and that's probably the most huge loss because without him, they're not as strong as they are in the middle. Uh, they had Marquise Lee, who also opted out. So it's just they don't have the skilled players, and the offense just looks lethargic, but the defense doesn't look any better. So,
Right.
but do I think they're done? No, because you got to give Belichick his hand because Belichick can easily turn it around there, as we've seen in years past, where they can be. They're 2-4 right now, easily.
3 straight losses. They can't score though. They've only
Yeah,
got 28 points in the last 3 games.
but from what I'm looking at, they got away from what they was doing in the first 2 weeks. Like the first 2 weeks, we seen heavy QB run game with Cam Newton. Now they're trying to throw the ball so much right now, and I think the running game was helping the passing game because people were more worried about stopping Cam. But are the Patriots done? No, I'm not gonna put that on them. They have to lose at least 3 more games for me, or go over these next 5 games, 2-3 for me to be like, okay, well the Patriots are done because we all go talk about, oh, they're done. Then the next thing we know, they're 12-4 in the playoffs.
Well, they got some winnable games coming up. They're at Buffalo, at the Jets, then home with the Ravens, at Houston, home with the Cardinals, at the Chargers, at the Rams, at Miami, and then they end with 2 straight in the AFC East at home versus the Bills and the Jets. So they've got a fairly winnable schedule, and
Yeah, I think
they're
they
they're
can
a
go
team that
like
peaks late too. They're always a team that kind of peaks towards the end of the season. So I agree. It's hard to count them out now, but they're definitely putting themselves behind the eight ball early in the division race already.
It would be better if like say the Dolphins go on a 3 or 4 game winning streak. Yes, then we can be like, well, maybe not. But remember that with the addition of that 7th playoff spot, you kind of can't count anyone out. And New England can get to the playoffs, 7 seed, and beat the 2 seed. So
Sure. Well, speaking of bad situations in the AFC East, so you got the 0-7 Jets who have been talking about letting some guys go, such as Quinton
Quinn
Williams
Williams,
in the defensive tackle spot. You think he's a good fit for Miami? And if so, what should they give up to a division rival to grab somebody like that? With Godchild being out and in a contract year, it's an intriguing possibility. I mean, he's a number 3 overall pick. He's played better this year. Is it a kind of a buy low opportunity, or do you just take a hard pass on that and look for other help in the D line?
Me personally, I loved him coming out of Alabama, and I think he still has that talent. I just think he's been in a shitty situation in the Jets. The Jets their organization has been bad. Um, when Gaze took over, we all know Gaze is a coach, a player killer. We've seen it with our own eyes in Miami. All those guys who left Miami are flourishing, and I mean, if they're asking for a 2nd or 3rd round pick for that guy, you take him. Still a young kid. I think he was about 20 when he came out. So I think he's only about 22 or 23 years old right now. Great young player. Like I always say, draft picks only matter if you hit on them. It does not matter if we give up a 2nd and a 3rd and they go draft Trayvon Diggs, who's on the Cowboys defense, who's been playing terrible. Like, are you going to be mad if you swap Quinn Williams, who has all pro potential, for a guy who doesn't look like they belong in the NFL right now with his struggles at DB? So I think it's worth it. Will the Jets trade him in division? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that he ultimately they do something like what they did with Leonard Williams, trade him outside division to another team. But if they're willing to trade him, yes, you always take chances on good young players, because your system or your organization or foundation, similar to the Miami Heat, you take those players start having breakout seasons. Look at Deion Waiters struggling. James Johnson struggling. Come to Miami, had their best seasons. So you take chances on guys when you trust your structure and your organization. And Quinn Williams will actually fit right in with that young defensive line, and you have him on his rookie contract still. So Miami's setting themselves up to be in such a great position because all their young players are still on their rookie contract. By the time that you have to pay somebody, I think in like 2023 or 2024.
Mm-hmm. We got time. This is the window now with Tua being put in the starting role. I mean, they just opened that window, so now that clock starts, and I think it's definitely something you gotta consider if you're the Dolphins, but you gotta weigh what you're giving up to a division rival versus what you're getting back.
Yeah.
So speaking of shitty situations, which is worse, the Cowboys D or the Jets O?
Both are pretty bad. I really would say the Cowboys defense is worse because they have talent over there. You got Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, DeMarcus Lawrence, who they're playing, I think up to I forgot he make at least $18 million a year to not play. So they have some good guys on their defense, and it's just mind blowing that they just look lethargic on defense. They don't look confident in Mike Nolan's system. He needs to be fired. He needs to be fired because that defense has been poor. And they just don't look like they're brought into that system anymore. With Chris Rashad with the same defense, they were pretty formidable. But the thing that I think Jerry Jones outdid himself was he devalued Byron Jones to a level which was quite disrespectful, because Byron Jones is a good corner, and you're starting to see from Byron Jones to Trayvon Diggs or
Big drop off.
Yeah, like with the Jets offense, who do they have? Like what player?
LaMichael Perine?
That's about it. But what player?
Rashad Perriman, I mean, he's been always hurt. Jamison Crowder, hurt.
Jameson always hurt. Yeah.
They have no
But
No real weapons.
but if Jamison Crowder is your number one target,
Yeah,
your
he's a
number
wide
one
receiver 3 on a good team.
but a good slot guy, that's the number one guy.
Yeah.
So you can't say the Jets offense is bad. They don't have the weapons around them. Then you let go of your best offensive weapon in Le'Veon Bell because you didn't want to use him correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Cowboys are in a worse situation. The Cowboys are like I say, we might have to start thinking about like the taking for Trevor because you never know. Those guys, I think Cowboys, could move on from Dak Prescott in that way. But one thing I will say, shout out to Dak. You done made yourself a lot of money just getting hurt because the Cowboys have looked bad without you.
Yeah, he carried that team to wherever they were before he left. And we had a comment here on Austin Jackson. I haven't heard anything about his timetable to return, so I think that's
I
still
think
kind of up in the air.
I think it was sometime around in November he will be coming back.
So, yeah, we're going to switch gears and talk about the Hurricanes who have a bye this week. They go into that bye 5-1 after a 19-14 win over UVA. 5-1 is great, but do you have any concerns with how they've gotten to 5-1 so far? These last couple of games haven't exactly been impressive, but it's better to win ugly, I guess, than to lose pretty.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take too much into that. But is there a cause for concern? I mean, especially now with the Cam Harris situation, he seems to be a little bit disgruntled as far as how he's being used within the offense. What do you see with this Miami team at 5-1? Is that a artificial 5-1, or are they just doing enough to win and they're going to just keep getting better?
Well, I was at the game covering it for 5 Reasons Sports, obviously on Saturday with Jazz Santana and Larry Bluestein. So at the game, you can kind of see that Miami was kind of sluggish. I mean, the receivers stepped up. So let's first off, let's give him a round of applause. Mike Harley had the best games for a Kansas receiver since 2014, with the most receiving yards since Philip Dorsett against Arkansas State with 201. Mike Harley made some great grabs. Every time he was targeted, he caught the ball. So he gave us what we wanted to see. He led that team. Mike Harley had a hell of a game. So that was that. The running game, like I said, the problem with the running game is this. Since De'Aaron King does not pull the football, he never pulls the football. Teams are just loading up the box. He never pulls it. So we're going to just attack the running back. At the game, you can see if he could have pulled the ball a couple of times, man, he would have been hitting his head on the goalpost because the kid's explosive. But I also brought up something on a post-game show of the Six Ring Kings. Was this. Is it that De'Aaron King is trying to showcase his stuff so much for the NFL that he's trying to be something he's not? And sometimes it looks like that, like him holding on to the football as too long. I think we gave up 5 sacks, but 3 of those was his fault. The guy was literally holding on to the ball, and it's like, okay, if the offensive line, yes, throw it away. But the grade I can get him at 5-1, I'll get the Canes a solid B+. The only thing is they haven't put together a full game against anyone yet. Louisville, not even. I mean, because
Florida State, I would say.
Florida State, but look how bad they are.
Yeah.
So
you don't know about Florida. I mean, they that's like a Jekyll and Hyde team every week.
Yeah. So
I mean, they look like a train wreck one week, and then they beat UNC. It's like I don't know.
This is a big 2 games for them. You got at NC State, and then you got at Virginia Tech. If Miami can win those 2 games, then we're like, okay, we're 7-1, but damn, these guys are beating these teams. Because North Carolina wiped the floor with NC State, and I think Wake Forest beat Virginia Tech. So I think Miami could beat both of those teams. Like I've been saying all season, Notre Dame, North Carolina, and Miami are the second tier in the ACC. They're all at the same level. There's no real difference between either of them. Because if you look at Notre Dame, they can't throw the football consistently. You look at UNC, they have their moments where they just look lethargic on defense. And then you have Miami who, they have their days on offense and defense. But one thing that was a cause for concern to me, 1 sack and 1 TFL. I think we finished with 2 TFLs for the whole game against Virginia. which was very concerning for me because the D-line has been so disruptive all season. So kind of tailing off a little bit. So I kind of want to see them pick it up. But overall, I get them a B+. You can't be mad about winning. You're 5-1, so let's just get it. But I think they got a good. They got to get more creative in the run game. Like the
Yeah.
schemes they're running, got to get more creative.
I got some concerns with that running game. I mean, we're only averaging a little over 100 yards per game in the last 3 games. Granted, we played some really good defenses in Clemson and
We
Pitt.
haven't. We haven't. I think it was since what it was. Florida
FSU, we had
State.
200
Yeah,
yards rushing
yards.
against
That was been
FSU.
it.
And then we barely had that combined in the last 3 games. So I'm concerned there. And I agree with you about King. I think he's missing some reads with the ends diving down, crashing down. He's got to pull that and run. I agree. I've counted multiple misreads in every game as far as him taking it down. Maybe he's a little gun shy after Clemson because
Yeah,
he took some shots.
like I said at Clemson, you remember on that 4th and 1, if he pulls the ball there, the drive continues. He hands it off to guys in there. But is the running game an issue to you, or do you see, or is it? Do you want to just see more creativity in the run game, as in more quarterback run game? Mixing King in there to help open up the lanes for the backs.
Yeah, we have trouble running inside. I definitely want to see some different looks. I mean, even try some pitches or kick it back to a little pro style offense. Maybe get 2 backs in there at once, just to mix up the looks. Maybe go heavy, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, and try to just bully people a little bit up
Power
front,
football.
a little bit, because we're having trouble as far as like the interior rush goes. So maybe we could try some more off tackle stuff and getting those guys a little bit of a running start in space. I like what I'm seeing out of Knighton and Chaney. Those guys run hard. They both got that dog in them. Those guys fight for every yard,
Yeah,
and
and
I like that.
I know Cam Harris was a bit upset, but I think from the stats that it was, I think Chaney had at the half 2 carries for 10 yards, and I think Cam Harris had more carries for the same amount of yards. But you could kind of see because at the second half, Chaney, I think he had 8 carries for 33 yards, and he kind of ignited the Miami run game. It kind of helped him. He was running hard. He was picking up. Jalen Knighton had a few good runs. So I just think it was not Cam Harris's day. I would like to see him, handle in a more adult way because he has been one of the leaders of that team and he has been, one of the better players on the team early on in the system. In the season. So I just would have liked to see him handle it better than going on to Twitter and kind of spouting out things. I know he was upset, but I just think those 2 guys had a better feel for the game, a better rhythm. Just like in previous games against Louisville and UAB, Cam Harris was saving the day in the Miami run game. And another thing for their offense and their offense for me is big player bust. They established some drives, but they're not finishing them. So that was another thing I think because I think Miami could have beat Virginia legitimately 35-14.
Yeah, and that's what we all predicted. All predicted double-digit wins on the pregame show. I just don't want to see them play down the competition. I want to see a team like Virginia. You put a touchdown on the board 30 seconds in, and then you
2
score 12
plays.
points the rest of the game. So that's a concern with me. And
We had like I said, no turnovers,
we're not
no.
forcing turnovers at all in defense. We're not getting any game-changing plays to
Yeah.
help the offense.
And
And I
on top
think
of
that,
that, think about this. Had they not called back that 1 touchdown, Miami loses that game.
yeah. So we're right there, and we can't make those kind of mistakes against better teams like a UNC or Notre Dame. Those type of teams, they're not going to just hang around. They're going to take advantage of those mistakes. So
Miami's back half of that schedule is pretty tough. You got North Carolina State, you got Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. I'm missing a team. And they got UNC on December 5th. I think I'm missing 1 game in there. I think I can't remember the team, but that's a pretty tough stretch right there. And 2 of those are on the road. Miami has their next home game is until November 21st against Georgia Tech. So I want to see how they respond. This is a big stretch in the season. This is the 2 games right now. If they win these games at 7-1, Georgia Tech it's gonna get them problems a little bit with the running quarterback with Sims, but they should ultimately beat Georgia Tech and then just
At Wake Forest before we end the season with
yeah.
UNC
That now
on
that
December 5th.
the Wake Forest game is a trap
Big time.
because now you're looking at if you're 8-1, you're potentially going December 5th right there, you and UNC for the battle to go to the ACC
Yeah,
championship.
that's the Coastal right there, I think, that
Yeah.
December 5th game.
Yes.
But, yeah, I think this bye week is going to hopefully they get their house in order
That and
and really come out.
You get Brevin Jordan back on the road against North Carolina State as well. Restrepo missed the game, so I think you'll see him back. I don't know if those guys who missed were COVID-related guys because it was kind of late scratches to the game. I do want to give a shout-out to Garvin Hall. He had an excellent game on defense. Filling in for Amari Carter, who's had his struggles with his targeting penalties.
Amari Target Carter.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Gervin Hall. He had an excellent game defensively, was making plays.
Let me ask you this. What's going on with Carter? Why does this keep happening every week? I mean, you could probably explain this better than a lot of people. So give me a jock take on this.
So Carter's problem is this. He's too aggressive. And I understand you want the kill shot every time, which is fine, whatever. You're trying to make a big play, but sometimes it's just coming up making a tackle, and the guys just with reckless abandon. Like for instance, on Sunday night, if you watch the Arizona Cardinal game, you seen Buda Baker. In my opinion, is probably one of the best safeties in the league, if not the best. He was just coming down here with reckless abandon and throwing his body in there. But Carter's too big for that. The guy's a little bit bigger, and he's just playing too reckless at times, and it's kind of, it's scary for him. It's not even like for the person. It's scary for you, brother. You out there risking your head all the time.
Yeah.
So he just needs to be more disciplined in his strike zone, and when he's making tackles, just be more disciplined, man. It's because Saturday was his worst one out of all of them.
Yeah. See what you hit. I mean, that's what they tell you, right? See what you hit.
So I think he needs to just calm down. He's an integral part of the damn defense, and he needs to understand that because now it hurt us when it hurt us against Clemson when he got out of the game. I think it was Clemson he got ejected if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he's a captain too. So this is, I mean, at this point, I think it's enough already. If he gets one more, I think he's got to hit the bench.
Yeah. So and obviously Gervin Hall stepped up very well. I'm sorry, Gervin Hall was suspended for Clemson that game, and then they had
we got a lot of targeting guys.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. So I love it. Like I said, I love to play a Gervin Hall, but Amari Carter is interesting. Like we need him. But I did say that they were playing Frierson. Gilbert at safety a little bit. So that was a pretty solid thing. So I like that. Like I said, I'm happy with Miami. They have improved. The season hasn't went down the drain like it has in past. And they ultimately just need to we all just want to see that one game where we have a 100-yard rusher, 100-yard receiver, and De'Aaron King look great as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for the second half of the season, and we've got a lot to look forward to. It's going to be a big weekend with Tua.
What do you think about AB signing with the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I think he's going to come in and maybe give him a spark a little bit. They kind of, with Godwin's injury situation, he might kind of step into that role a little bit. They're going to have a second football with maybe a little bit more air in it down there for Brady because he's got a lot of mouths to feed down there at the wide receiver spot.
But Mike Evans has been hurt all season, though.
So they're always banged up. Godwin's banged up. Evans, I mean, listen, he's going to be in shape. He's going to come in. It's just his attitude. If he's Antonio Brown, where he's focused and just playing football, he's a weapon, and he's immediately going to insert himself into the top tier wide receiver conversation. But if it becomes an Antonio Brown shit show off the field, then I don't know.
Yeah,
so we'll have to wait and see.
I'm actually excited for him. I do just want to see him just come and play football. I would have liked to see him go to the Ravens. Just because it would help Lamar Jackson out. Because we all see what a number one receiver means to every quarterback. too many guys, too many people put so much pressure on the quarterback. But if you don't have the weapons, you can't be a good quarterback. You see it with Sam Darnold. He looks bad because he has no weapons. But imagine if you flipped him and Baker Mayfield. Another thing I want to talk about, OBJ's injury, man. I'm sorry to hear that
That's
for the
tough,
guy.
yeah.
But when he comes back, he does need to just ask out of Cleveland and wash his hands with it because it obviously hasn't worked. But with AB, I expect him to come in right away and them to just flat out dominate.
They're a good team. They're a sleeper in the NFC.
No,
They got a really good defense,
I
and
think they're the best team in the NFC right now because the Saints don't look that well.
Green Bay looks good.
Green Bay also heard rumblings that they might try to trade Michael Thomas. What are your takes on that? Would you take a chance on Michael Thomas?
I mean, maybe a buy low opportunity. Yeah. Definitely. But I mean, he missed 6 straight games now with one thing or another.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be out again on Sunday with the hamstring thing.
My thing with him is he's a bona fide tight end, really. But he's competitive. I love his game. Obviously, he's not a threat deep. So he's
a high volume guy. He needs 15 targets a game. He's a guy who expects a heavy workload, and if he doesn't get it, he's got an issue. But like who's it? Tre'Quan Smith, I think, has really stepped up there for New Orleans and given them that deep threat.
Obviously, and Kamara has been carrying.
Kamara is unbelievable. Yeah. So the NFC should be very interesting. So
I think it's a 2-team race between the Bucs and Packers, just because their defenses is better than Seattle. Seattle's defense is so bad, man.
Watch out for the 49ers too, though. If they get some of these guys back from injury, I mean, look out. They're still winning games with a banged up team. Got to give a lot of credit to Shanahan out there.
That, and you got to start taking that Miami beating them victory more serious as well.
Yeah,
because
that was a good win.
A win is a win, but so like I said, we got a lot of good things going on in Miami, especially. But it's about to be trade deadline time, so I expect Miami to be, in the mix for some of those guys.
We got one last question from Anthony, then we're going to hop off here. Should the Dolphins make a trade during the deadline to make our secondary more dominant for Justin Simmons or Harrison Smith?
I don't. If the Broncos trade Justin Simmons, that would be just boneheaded of them. Just like I've been hearing people saying that Jerry Jeudy's a bust and all that stuff like that. No, he doesn't have a quarterback getting in the football. But if they want to trade Justin Simmons and you got to go with a 3rd-round pick, yes, because Simmons is a very freakish guy. You can use him in so many ways. And it's just be. But I expect those guys to all get traded to contenders as in guys who are playing for the Super Bowl, like
Kansas City's and
like
in division though that might be tough with Simmons, but I think the Dolphins secondary is actually playing pretty well. Eric Rowe's been really consistent.
Probably the best defensive. I like that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Miami's gonna interrupt the flow of the defense. I think if they add anything, probably an inside linebacker like Zach Cunningham from the Texans, but I mostly see them going after something on offense that will help the offense and Tua get another weapon in there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Jakeem Grant can do with Tua because he's been wide open. If you look at the film, which I know you do, I mean, every week that cat's running around with nobody within 10 yards of him. They got to get him the ball.
I keep telling people, man, Mike Gesicki watch on Sunday. Mike Gesicki probably gonna have like a 100-yard game for like 2 touchdowns because now you have a quarterback whose arm is live. He can throw across the middle. So I just expect a big thing out of him. And like I said, I like to see. I want to just everybody's excited. We as a sports show, we try to talk about everything, but the main thing going in Miami right now is Sunday. Like Sunday couldn't get here fast enough.
Yeah, let's go.
Like I know I'm gonna be locked in and tuned in for the whole game. I watch all the Dolphin games, but it's like this game you're gonna be extra excited. Just like with the prize picks thing. Like if you go ahead and
exactly.
Right now over and under right now for Tua's prize pick right now. If you had to pick his over and under projections. Because I think it's gonna be projected probably at about 15 or 16.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. If it's anything under like 18, I'll take the over.
Yeah, me.
So
Me too. And one under I do have is I think that because you could pick some defensive players too. I'll go with the under on Aaron Donald.
Yeah, he's been killing me lately. He hasn't really been making much of an impact. I had him on the over actually yesterday, and he didn't do much for me. And Anthony Miller. I mean, but it's Bears Rams. You just take the under.
Yeah, so I'll take the
But
under on Aaron Donald. I think he's gonna, cool off. But then again, man, I'm just excited, man. I just want to see him go out and have a great game. Actually, because he's a good kid and everybody likes him. He's a very likable guy, so I love it, man. I just want to see him go out and have a solid game. And I want to see the offense, like the offense really now. I want to see how the offense really is and not this, watered down version of the offense, the
right.
Fitzpatrick. And I think we'll see more Matt Breida as well, too.
Well, tonight also we're going to have the Six Ring Canes. We're going to do a recap of Virginia University, Miami, and then another show on Thursday with Jock and I to catch you up on everything that's going on in Miami sports. So, Jaccare, thanks for getting on the show today, and thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.
All right, brother.